Hello friends, I am Mr. Bhalerao sir and I welcome to you in my channel that is English for Learners. Friends, today we are going to learn one of the important topic that is figure of speech. Now let's see the definition of figure of speech. A figure of speech is a phrase or word having different meanings than its literal meanings. It conveys meaning by identifying or comparing one thing to another, which has connotation or meanings familiar to the audience. That is why it is helpful in creating vivid rhetorical effect. Let's see the types of figures of speech. There are so many types of figures of speech, but we shall learn some of them. First one is alliteration. Definition: when in a sentence there is a repetition of the beginning sounds of neighboring words, it is the use of alliteration. For example, Raju brings himself to the bank of a bay. In this given sentence, the underlined sound B is repeated. That's why the figure of speech alliteration is used here. Now see one more example. He holds his head high. Here the sound H is repeated. So again we can say the figure of speech alliteration is used here. Please watch more examples on the screen. Figure of speech is repetition. Definition: when in a sentence same words are repeated, it is the use of repetition. For example, rain, rain, go away. In this given sentence, the word rain is repeated. That is why in this sentence, the figure of speech repetition is used. There is a little difference between alliteration and repetition. In figure of speech alliteration, the sound is repeated, but in figure of speech repetition, a particular word is repeated. Now let's watch more examples about repetition. Predication: when in a sentence non-living things, animals, birds, plants, flowers or ideas are given the human qualities, or they are described as human beings, it is the use of personification. For example, the waves are singing a song. In this given sentence, waves, it is a non-living thing which has given human qualities, that is singing. So in this sentence, the waves are personified, or we can say the figure of speech personification is used here. Now let's see one more example. Stars danced in the sky. Here, stars are personified, or in simple way we can say stars, which are non-living things, are given human qualities, and that is dancing. Watch more examples on the screen. Of speech. Simile: When in a sentence, a direct comparison is made between two objects of different kinds which have at least one point in common shown using like or as, it is the use of simile. For example, Kashmir is like a heaven of India. In this given sentence, there is a direct comparison between the place Kashmir and heaven. Of speech metaphor. When an indirect comparison is made in between two objects of different kinds which have at least one point in a common, it is the use of metaphor. There is no use of words like and as. For example, time is a money. Here is the comparison between time and money, but it is a indirect comparison. Next figure of speech is Onomatopoeia. Definition. When in a sentence, a word itself expresses sound, it is the use of onomatopoeia. For example, the dog's bow bow is creating noise. In this given example, words bow bow expresses sound of dog. So, we can say the figure of speech onomatopoeia is used here. Please watch more examples on the screen. Figure of speech is inversion. When in a sentence, words are not in a correct prose order, that is, subject, verb, object, it is the use of inversion. For example, but don't you quite. In this given example, the words are not in a correct order, and correct order is but you don't quite. One more example. In vain is the world playing. Of speech is hyperbole. When in a sentence a statement is made emphatic by overstatement or exaggeration, it is the use of hyperbole. For example, she wept a bucket full of tears. As you know that nobody have a bucket full of tears. So this sentence is exaggerated. That is why the figure of speech hyperbole is used here. The name of figure of speech is antithesis. When in a sentence, the opposite words or ideas are used side by side, it is the use of antithesis. For example, he wants to light the dark route. In this given example, the opposite words light and dark are used side by side. That is why we can say antithesis figure of speech is used. Watch more examples on the screen. Figure of speech climax. Definition: when in a sentence, ideas, thoughts, value, importance, qualities, etc. are arranged in a ascending order, it is the use of climax. For example, she came, she saw, she conquered. There is a, the importance are arranged in a ascending order. So we can say the figure of speech climax is used here. Which is anti-climax. This anti-climax figure of speech is opposite of climax. Definition: when in a sentence, ideas are presented in a descending order, it is the use of anti-climax. For example, he swears before sun, moon, and leaves. In this given example, we can see ideas are presented in descending order. So, anti-climax figure of speech is used here. Figure of speech, that is, transfer epithet. When in a sentence, an adjective is transferred from its proper word to another that is closely associated with, it is the use of transfer epithet. For example, I passed 3 sleepless nights. Name of the figure of speech is paradox. When in a sentence, self-contradictory statements are made, it is the use of paradox. For example, the swiftest traveler is he that goes afoot. There is a contradiction between contradiction. The traveler is swiftest, but he goes on foot. So we can say, in this example, the figure of speech paradox is used. One more figure of speech is euphemism. When in a sentence, a harsh thing is expressed in a mild way, it is the use of euphemism. For example, he is no more. Actually, the word no more expresses died. The word died is harsh. So instead of died, the words no more are used. So in this sentence, harsh things are expressed in a mild way. That is why euphemism figure of speech is used here. Watch more examples on the screen, please. Figure of speech Synecdoche. When in a sentence, a part is used to designate the whole or vice versa, it is the use of Synecdoche. For example, more hands should be employed. In this given example, more hands, this part indicates more people. So in this sentence, the figure of speech Synecdoche is used. Please watch much more examples on the screen. Figure of speech is apostrophe. When in a sentence, a direct address is made to the dead, non-living objects, plants, animals, birds, absent persons, God, etc. It is the use of apostrophe. For example, "Oh moon, give me moonlight." In this given example, moon is non-living object and it is directly addressed. That is why the figure of speech apostrophe is used here. is tautology. When in a sentence, different words of same meanings are used for the sake of force, it is the use of tautology. For example, I have seen it with my own eyes. In this given example, words seen and eyes indicate same meaning. That is why the figure of speech tautology is used here. Figure of speech is irony. When in a sentence there is a contrast between what is said and what is meant, or between appearance and reality, it is the use of irony. For example, the Titanic was said to be unsinkable but sank on its first voyage. In this given example shows that there is irony. The ship, the Titanic, was unsinkable, but it sank. So, figure of speech irony is used here. Figure of speech is interrogation. When a mere question is asked, not for an answer, but to put a point more effectively, it is called interrogation. For example, is this your attitude? The question is asked. So, in this given sentence, the figure of speech interrogation is used. Figure of speech exclamation. When in a sentence there is an expression of strong feelings, then there is a use of exclamation. For example, now all has become history. There is an expression of strong feelings. The next figure of speech is metonymy. When in a sentence there is association of two objects and one object is described as another, it is the use of metonymy. For example, the pen is mightier than the sword. In this given example, the pen and the sword, these are the two different objects which is associated with each other, but the pen is described as the sword. So we can say in this given example the figure of speech metonymy is used. Next figure of speech is oxymoron. When in a sentence two words of opposite meanings of same person or things are placed side by side, then there is use of oxymoron. For example, it's an open secret. In this given example, open and secret, these two words are used side by side, which have opposite meanings. So, in this given example, the figure of speech oxymoron is used. Please watch more examples on the screen. I'm sure you might have liked this video. If you liked it, please share it. If you have any suggestions for me, please write in comment box. Wish you a good day. Thank you very much.